Hey, Tony Jones here for thehardestquestion.org, THQ. And this week, Russell delves into this little bit from the Sermon on the Mount that's part of our gospel reading, and he asks, he starts to get at what I think is the hardest question, and it's one that's been answered by biblical scholars and theologians. We run into this a lot at thehardestquestion.org, and that is, we run into questions that, at least for me, I think for Russell and for a lot of our other contributors, are we learned the answers to these questions in seminary, but they're questions that haven't gone away, even though we've learned the answers to them, and that's what is raised this week for me. And that's this question of when Jesus says that he didn't come to abolish the prophets and the law, but he came to fulfill them. So, I get it. I get the standard responses to that, what it means that he didn't come to abolish it, but to fulfill it, the law and the prophets. But my problem with it is that it seems like he did come to abolish it. So he defends his disciples as they pluck heads of grain on the Sabbath. He defends himself against charges that he's healed people on the Sabbath. He seems to be breaking one of the most important of the laws, of the law and the prophets, and yet he doesn't say, now here in the Sermon on the Mount, he's not saying that he came to abolish those laws or overturn them, or that they're no longer in effect, or that he's putting a better or new law in place, the law of grace or something. He just says that he came to fulfill them. So my struggle is, and the hardest question, and I think the hardest question for how we preach this text is to ask and try to answer exactly what that means. On the one hand, there's lots from the law and the prophets that we want to say Jesus fulfilled and still holds, like the Ten Commandments, for instance. But there's a lot of other parts of the law and the prophets that we'd like to say that Jesus abolished or fulfilled, and so we no longer have to keep them, like don't eat shrimp, or don't mix milk and meat or something. So when Jesus makes an overarching statement like this, I haven't come to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill it, I'm left not knowing what Jesus means and thinking that we have a pretty big theological, this is a really big theological conundrum to try to preach through. So to all you preachers out there, good luck with this one. This is Tony Jones for THQ.